Welcome to the Wandering Tangent Podcast. I'm BJ, with me is Jeff and Gary, and today we're going to talk about the 1987 sci-fi classic, I suppose, to most people but me, Predator. So now, Jeff, I get the feeling
Yes.
I maybe annoyed you a little bit. So to give people who did not listen to our who did not watch or listen to the review we did prior to jumping into long form discussion, Jeff gave Predator a 4, Gary gave Predator a 3, I gave Predator a 1. So still a positive score on our little sliding scale, which allows us to apply negative numbers to movies we did not like. So I liked it, but not as much as Jeff did. And Jeff, I get feeling I annoyed you a little bit with that because we kind of went back to the old-fashioned way of doing reviews where
I interrupted you, yeah.
Yes.
Yep, I invaded your airtime that you were supposed to be able to do your review. Yes, I broke a few rules. So, with that, there was a comment you made a long time ago where we mentioned Predator on another recording some time ago in the deep labyrinth of time, and you mentioned that Predator was not a very deep movie, something to that effect, or that there wasn't a lot of philosophy in the movie. I think it was something like that.
Oh,
and I
as I recall, I kind of applied it to 80s action movies in general. I don't think I singled out a single movie in that regard, but please continue.
Well, that could be true. It was a long time ago, so that discussion is long gone. We don't take minutes, per se, or we don't go back and or listen to these things. So,
and to be fair, after watching Predator last night, I stand by that. I don't see the deep philosophy in this movie. So please carry on.
Okay, so the deep philosophy that I see in Predator is that, and it's a philosophy they don't come out and say. It's all something that you have to write in yourself based on what you see. But the Predator follows rules. Most villains are just chaotic evil. They're just in it for themselves. They're selfish. They're maybe hurt inside and they want revenge. They want someone else to feel pain like they feel pain. That's your typical motivation for a villain. But the Predator is scary and sinister and monster-like, yet it also kind of an enigma. You don't really know what's motivating the Predator. He seems to be wanting to be, like the word says, a predator, a hunter. He wants some sort of experience that comes with hunting a creature and triumphing over that creature and dominating them. Like a hunter would take a trophy of something meaningful that shows that they have prowess of some kind, some sort of token of respect for the other people in their tribe or community. So we're kind of left with the audience to just kind of figure out what the Predator's doing. But the Predator is not chaotic evil. Like I said, he's following some sort of rules. So he is wanting to go through some sort of experience for himself. And in doing that, he's following some sort of code of morality where he will fight people only in a more somewhat even match, not completely even, but the characters in this story, they all have projectile weapons. So he uses projectile weapons. He uses blade weapons when he's in close combat. And then at the very end, we often jump into spoilers in our discussion. So this is a spoiler, of course. But in the end,
40-year-old movie.
Yeah.
Almost 40-year-old movie. Yes, yes.
And so at the end, in the very last showdown, he takes off his equipment. He's got Dutch, the lead character. He's got this guy right where he wants him. Dutch has given him some trouble. which has gotta really be annoying. This is like rage quit annoying levels. But instead of just finishing him off, he still follows his code of some sort, and he takes off the weapons that are unfair, and he then evens the playing field. It is his muscles against Dutch's muscles. And I think there's a scene where I forget the name of the character, the guy who is the tracker.
Billy.
Yeah, Billy. He is starting to, Billy, who you get the sense that he knows more than everyone else. It's a very strong sense that they write into the script of that. And so when he faces the Predator, he takes off all his equipment and pulls out his knife. In a sense, I think Billy maybe understood something about the Predator that others didn't. That the Predator fights based on some sort of level playing field to some extent. So in terms of philosophy, I think that there's the philosophy of adventure, of prowess, of being a hunter and having victims. And usually it's humans hunting animals, but in this case, the humans are being hunted. So there's both terror and horror with that, but also there's the philosophy of the need to prove yourself. And I think that somehow this race of aliens that is extremely advanced has also developed a sense of morality. And in Predator 2, they show that sense of morality, that despite being hunters, vicious hunters, they have a code of honor that they eventually follow. And they actually, at the end of Predator 2, they let the main character go after following that honor. Because he manages to, in this battle, this duel of fates between the Predator and him, he manages to kill the Predator, and they do not retaliate. It's as if this entire experience of hunting and being hunted is some sort of ritual to them, of some sort of symbolic meaning that they completely adhere to. So they don't just fly over to Earth and nuke it all. To them, there's a higher code of some sort of hunting things that deserve to be hunted. And the Predator doesn't go after the guys until he finds the scorpion. There's a scene where they kill a scorpion that's a dangerous scorpion. So they kill the scorpion to keep themselves safe. And he picks up the scorpion and looks at it. And it's the entire relationship between hunter and prey is right there in the scorpion. And so the Predator now sees that they are hunters too. So now he, by their own moral code of the Predators, he now can hunt them and have that. Anyway. So I don't know if any of that made sense, but I think that somewhat captures what I'm trying to say. But go ahead. I'll shut up for now.
Gary, did you want to say something? Don't know if you've really said anything this episode yet.
Well, I could do a few things with what Jeff has gone on about there. I could say a few things.
If you want to. I do not want to, what's the word? Don't want to force a rebuttal or anything like that.
No. So in defense of BJ, Jeff, I do think that that's a lot that the watcher, the person watching the movie, has to put into it, right?
Yes, I agree with that.
I mean, that is a lot that the person watching basically has to write half the script in their head for you. But so that's in defense of BJ's position on this. But in the position of continuing Jeff's thought exercise, there is so for a while now, science fiction has had a dilemma. And I don't know if you know this, Jeff, or BJ. There's a dilemma, right? If you get to a certain point in technology, conquering Earth makes absolutely zero sense from an intelligent science fiction perspective, right? I mean, why even bother coming down onto
What
Earth.
do you need Earth for?
Yes, what do you...
Is it? Yeah.
Do you need water? There's water. One comet gives you more water than you'd ever, could possibly use. And there's like millions of the things in the Oort cloud. Do you need resources? Asteroid belt. Do you need, do you need electricity? Do you need energy? There's a giant sun over there, and we're not even using a fraction of a percentage of the energy coming off of that thing. That is even if you decided to go into this tiny solar system that was uninteresting to start with, right? Other than the fact that there is a single life-bearing planet. But everything that extraterrestrial life would need to sustain itself or thrive would exist somewhere else. Other than, Jeff, like you said, the hunt. Something to hunt down. That being humans. And that is for leisure. We don't see the typical, and I do believe the expanded lore has referred to them as Yautja. Isn't that right?
Something
BJ?
like that.
So, Jeff, you don't see the Yautja who do just like a regular 9 to 5, going to work every day,
Sit at a
putting
cubicle.
putting their put in a shift on in a cubicle, having to commute to and from work, come home, eat whatever the wife's got cooking, play with the kids for a little bit at the park, and then go to bed, right? Looking forward to the weekend. You don't see that Yautja. What you're seeing is probably their like hyper elite, super, super rich, and they can afford to have this luxurious, trip to another solar system where they're going to hunt the biggest and most expensive and most dangerous of game, an intelligent species, a species that could possibly figure things out and fight back, right? So this hyper advanced alien species uses its extreme technology for not the only, but one of the very few logical reasons to come down into Earth's gravity well. That being, let's hunt some humans just for the kicks, for some lulz. And because it's for the lulz, you have to have a very strict set of rules. Otherwise, you'll get in trouble. Because, anybody could, like you said, if they wanted to kill a lot of people, they could probably just bomb it from space and, claim 1 million skulls in a lazy afternoon of button pushing, right? From their hyper advanced spaceship. Not particular, you could probably fit a nap in there too, right? And then, come down and just harvest the charred skulls out of a nuked city. But they don't do that because that's not fair. That's not fun. And,
What would it prove?
It wouldn't prove anything, right? I'm more than willing to bet there's some sort of observational device that
Is he like a YouTuber? Is that what you're saying? The Predator's broadcasting?
There might be the equivalent of Predator YouTube going on as well. Or at the very minimum, he can record it and then show it to his friends later, right? But then, of course, he doesn't win, and he has to, as you said, Jeff, rage quit, but rage quit in the ultimate way, i.e. nuke the whole site. Because if he doesn't get to win, nobody does. But no, it's interesting in that way. But then again, yes, to reiterate, that is all stuff that I had to think of. It wasn't, it was stuff that was added in by me thinking about it not by, the movie showing or telling me that this is what's going on.
Yes. And there's certain level of realism to that, because in a strange situation like this, you wouldn't really have all the answers in the end. You would just have the facts that you had, the encounters, the loss, the people who didn't make it, and the few eyewitnesses and what their side of the story could say. It's almost like a Lovecraftian encounter where you just have these news reports that come out and that's all you got. And what else can you conclude from that?
Though I do want to have a conversation with BJ about a specific character and his thoughts on this character, because I was thinking about it as I was watching this one. BJ,
Yes.
In defense of the character Dylan.
Uh-huh.
So Dylan is a typical government, he's CIA, he's kind of, higher up, he doesn't fit in with the team, and usually what happens with this sort of character by the end of the movie? Not this one, just in other movies.
Oh, that was a question. I'm like,
Yeah, that's a question.
yes.
No, what happens with this kind of character?
Okay, I'm just gonna be like, yes, Gary. What does happen with this? What does happen with this kind of character? Why is there this pregnant pause? Anyway, they usually get fragged.
They usually get fragged, but why would they get fragged?
Because obviously they do something to same as the CIA agent is usually ends up being like the true villain or whatever. They obviously find some way to how to phrase it, to betray the team in some way, I suppose. I mean, he kind of does in this case. He does lead them on this mission under false pretenses, but
after, like, having his say about, we're resources, this is war, you're expendable resources and you've just been expended. Apart from that, he doesn't really push the issue, and then once things start to go sideways, he doesn't turn into this kind of cliche, oh, this is an alien, we need to study it. He is right there, right alongside everybody, he's
You
right
were
there.
wanting somebody to be like, but we gotta study it for the government.
Yeah,
Some
but
character
he didn't.
like that.
But he
Yep.
didn't.
They do
He
have a
was-
character like that in the second movie.
Yes.
But yes, you're absolutely right.
He didn't
Yeah,
in this
I
one.
know for a fact I have not seen Predator 2 end to end. In fact, I think I've maybe seen like the last hour of Predator 2 on TV at some point.
But so
I derailed Gary.
no, what's derailing me is there's children running around in the background because an ice cream truck is coming by.
The ultimate Predator, child to ice cream truck.
No, but Dylan at no point does he betray them to try to claim any of the Predator's technology, which he probably recognizes as being like something that could definitely further the, or maybe he doesn't, maybe I'm being generous about Mr. Dillon because he seems not too many steps above this team themselves, right? So maybe he's just, kind of the CIA's equivalent of this particular team, and he could, and he probably would just look as this alien as being just as much of a monster as they're seeing it as a monster meant to be killed.
Well,
right?
they don't really have a lot of time to analyze the situation. Like Predator takes place in like over the course of a day, right?
Yeah. So they're
they
just
don't
trying
really
to
have a lot of time to sit down like, oh, I think this is an alien. We should find somebody to capture it and study it and get its technology and blah, blah, blah. It's like, oh, holy crap, this thing is killing us. I guess we better kill it first.
yeah.
Yeah,
And
so
we're all dead.
they're everything they identify as in the world, like who they are outside of that situation, all falls apart when it turns into this basic need of survival. So he used to be an important member. He's representing the CIA. He comes along on the mission to make sure the mission operates correctly. But then as this turns into a life or death, we're probably not all going to make it out of here. That all of that role that he has just kind of like becomes useless. Because if you're not going to make it, what are you doing? Like, why are you trying to preserve the mission? In the end, he's no longer guarding the girl. None of that matters. What matters is they just need to survive.
Get out alive.
Yeah, and so all his CIA stuff just disappears. And he was a special forces guy. They don't go into a lot of detail, but there's a charm to that. You know that they all know each other. They went on missions together. They probably all served together.
Him and Dutch did. I don't think the rest of Dutch's team knows him from Adam.
Correct. But they are all, there's connections there, but they weren't all together. And so they all come from the same kind of background. And that means that, but then two of them went different ways. Dutch became a mercenary for hire, a contractor of some sort, to make lots of money and to control what missions he was going to go on, because he does have a sense of morality too. He only wants to go on rescue missions and missions that are specific to that. He won't go on certain missions no matter how much they might pay him. So he's not an assassin, and he's very clear about that. But the other guy went a different way. He tried to get a job and to be important. He got embedded in the bureaucracy. And so according to Dutch, that changes him. He's now has different goals and starts to follow their ideas and what they want. He becomes, one of their lieutenants, and it changes his opinion of things. And they have that breakdown between the two of them.
But only go on rescue missions, says the guy whose entire team is armed with, shall we say, somewhat indiscriminate weaponry. There was a lot of grenade launchers and a minigun.
Yeah,
not exactly high precision tools.
Speaking of,
I've been sitting on this for like 20 minutes trying to find a place to interject, and apparently that's not going to happen. So I'm just going to interject.
Go ahead.
So going way back to Jeff's opening monologue, soliloquy, whatever you want to call it, the whole scorpion thing, you kind of dug pretty deep with that, because we know for a fact that the Predator was already out there hunting people, because they came across the American Special Ops team like already dead and skinned. So like, did they kill something too? So Predator's like, oh goody, they're free game. I think you're trying to assign deeper meaning to things there, Jeff.
Well, possibly. Everyone can have their interpretation, but
it's like, did they step on a spider or something? What?
So the Predator was watching them. Yes, the Predator had already attacked a previous group.
Yes.
But he never attacked any of them until after the Scorpion. So yes, it is an interpretation. I completely acknowledge an interpretation.
Didn't attack any of them until, I believe, the whole Scorpion bit was after the whole raid on the camp, right?
Yes, that's true too.
And the Predator was watching them before, yes?
Yes.
So I think you might be assigning a bit too much meaning, is all I'm getting at.
Interpretation is interpretation, and that's
also
the way it is.
Okay.
There is nothing definitive. This is theoretical and concrete stuff.
That is very theoretical.
Also, the Predator doesn't attack until they're separated.
Yes.
Yep, which is interesting too, because go ahead, Gary.
Yeah, he doesn't. I think maybe, and this is yet again looking into things, so I'm writing part of the script that wasn't written, but I'm thinking that maybe the Predator learned its lesson with the first group that it took out, because it waited and it was much more patient with this group, right? It didn't, because we're to interpret that it attacked this entire group, the entire first group all at the same time. And yet it didn't do that with this group. It waited until it could pull them apart in different directions.
Yeah, right.
And then,
that is true. Because they were all killed in the same area, according to the tracker. According to Billy.
Group.
Yeah.
Yeah. But the second group, they were not. They were, this second group, the first one doesn't get killed until he's well away from the group chasing down the girl. And then, so on and so forth. It's not until he can, like, catch them isolated when he does his hunting. I think maybe he caught something from the first group, like a few too many bullets from the first group, and didn't want to do that again.
Yes. Well, and even though he's very powerful and scary, the reality is that he's also quite vulnerable, which you discover later on. So if this group really had a good shot at him, they could destroy him. This is something he probably understands. They have very heavy weaponry. And so he has to kind of use tactics in order to... Yeah.
I don't know if you guys have just not thought of the term, but like it's pretty much established by the in-movie lore that the Predator is basically a big game hunter, right? Yeah. And part of the thrill of big game hunting is the fact that it is dangerous, right?
Yep.
So, yeah.
Yes, so he picks these humans, which are probably the most dangerous humans on planet Earth. They could very well be that. They are not only special forces people with enormous experience, but they are a team of mercenaries that have been handpicked who have enormous experience, and yet they are selected from all those retirees as being some of the best that there is. So in theory, this could be the most dangerous humans on the whole planet, and that might be what attracted the Predator.
Well, it's established that this is not the...
They come during the hot-tempered seasons. Yeah.
Yes, maybe not this particular Predator, this individual alien, but I believe the idea is that these soldiers have stumbled into his hunting ground, not that they were sought out in particular.
That could be true. Yeah.
I believe that is true by what they accept in the movie. But anyway, I'm just being pedantic. Carry on.
So I was going to mention, so maybe we could sidetrack from the in-movie lore and move into a slightly different kind of lore. That lore being how this movie was made. Because that's a fascinating subject in and of itself. BJ, you've gone with me to a few conventions, right? I'm trying to remember. Huh?
I think maybe like one or two.
Yeah, but I'm
trying to remember. I think we did the first, like, I guess, I don't know if you want me to name names because that might reveal where we are, like that's some big secret or whatever.
No, just establishing the fact that you have been to a few of them, and I'm just wondering, there's a panel that I went to on one of them. I don't know if you were with me at the time. I know my wife was, but it was like a specifically about this movie panel.
I do not believe I was.
So it was some science fiction writers and film type people, and they were talking about this movie in particular. Fun fact about this movie. Actually, they had all kinds of fun facts about this movie. Such as, for instance, he's not very outspoken, but actually the person who caused the most problems on set of this movie was the actor who played Billy, the Native American guy. Apparently, because they filmed down in Mexico, apparently he was kind of a menace.
What did he do? Did they mention anything he did?
Lots of drinking, lots of ladies, lots of other illicit substances, a lot of rowdiness with the other actors to the point where I think the other like they had to get a security detail specifically to keep an eye on him and be between him and any of the other actors. I mean, most especially between him and Arnold, who was the highest dollar actor at the time. But I mean, the other guys weren't quite a few of the other guys weren't pushovers themselves.
Yeah.
Carl Weathers had already been in a few movies himself. The
guy that played, what's his name, Blaine, Jesse Ventura, according to Wikipedia, he was a Navy SEAL. So,
but no, I mean, everybody had issues with this guy who this Sonny Landham. Yeah, he got into some troubles. On the other hand,
they definitely wanted him because the studio was like, okay, we'll pay a guard. We just need him for this role.
Yeah, we need him for this role. On the other hand, another actor who was completely opposite set of that, Shane Black, guy who played Hawkins, he's an actor in this movie because it was cheaper to pay him as an actor than as a writer. He was actively one of the writers of the script whilst acting for this while being on set the entire time. Right.
So they make him kind of a nerd a bit because he has glasses.
And it's kind of sad because he said he worked out really, really, like he did a lot of like working out to get just as buff as all the other guys' action movies on the set. But one of the first days that they were filming, he had a bad encounter with a nest of biting ants that bit him all over, so he had to wear a shirt the entire time. So apparently all of he was just as ripped as any of the other guys on the set, right? In his own way, and he was like just kind of sad because he couldn't take his shirt off the entire time. And also the fact that he was, he had to wear his glasses the entire time because, they wanted to portray him as kind of nerdy. And then also he was actually a writer. So in real life, he was a nerd too. So, but yeah, it was cheaper for them to pay him as an actor and a credited actor and give him a whole bunch of lines, than to pay him as a writer, because I think there's some sort of contract thing with the writers and whatnot.
That seems weird, but yeah, it is what it is, apparently. Yeah, they might have had some sort of requirement, like they have to pay writers a certain amount or something like that.
Yeah, and they found it cheaper just to have him be an actor, and then he could, write when he had some spare time. And can you do
like, and then I'll also write while I happen to be on set.
That, and also, I don't know if any of you guys have seen any of the test footage for what the Predator was supposed to look like originally.
Yeah, apparently they had a whole costume put together, and it really did not work. It was on stilts. It couldn't move very well. So it lasted like 2 shots, and they're like, no, we can't do this.
And do you know who the actor was? BJ, do you know who the actor was who was supposed to be who was supposed to play the Predator?
It was supposed to be Jean-Claude Van Damme.
Yep, he was the guy who was supposed to be in the suit the first time.
And then they got the actor who played the Sasquatch from Harry and the Hendersons.
Yeah,
because he's very, very tall.
Yeah, according to Wikipedia, he was gentleman's name was Kevin Peter Hall. He was 7 feet 2 inches, as compared to Jean-Claude Van Damme, who was 5'9".
And apparently he was actually just a delight to work with. And I'm not saying that sarcastically. Just he was a really classy guy the entire time. So
you can see him because he's
yeah.
a helicopter pilot too. He has another cameo that they gave him. He's one of the chopper pilots.
Oh, okay.
The rescue chopper, the one at the end. Yeah.
Oh, I don't know how much you can trust Wikipedia as a source, but Wikipedia would somewhat go against what you said about him being a consummate worker.
Oh, it said it was something else.
Well,
according
to Go ahead.
According to Wikipedia, quote, it was reported that Van Damme constantly complained about the monster suit being too hot and causing him to pass out. He allegedly
Van
had
Damme or Kevin Peter Hall?
Jean-Claude.
No, I was
Van
talking about Kevin Peter Hall.
Oh, okay. I thought you were talking about Jean-Claude Van Damme. Never mind.
No. I was talking about the guy that they actually went with because,
Okay.
And I just, that guy, just his movement, he was able to do kind of an alien-like movement. He gets down low. He moves very quickly and sprints. And so he's somewhat athletic and agile to run through the jungle like that, even if they speed up the film. He did a really good job with it, I felt. You could definitely get a sense that this guy is powerful just as he's quickly moving through the jungle.
Well, I think that might have been some camera work because, again, according to
Probably.
Wikipedia article, in the suit he was more or less blind.
Yeah.
So I don't.
That
think
would have
he
been really hard. It would have been a real struggle.
So yeah, apparently in a couple of scenes where him and Arnold were doing the old hand to hand, he was supposed to pull his punches, but since he could not see, they were not pulled soon enough.
Oh no.
So another piece of real life lore, at least if this panel was to be believed, and I'm pretty sure since a few of those guys were gun guys as well, this is to be believed. Some of the guns you see in this movie didn't technically exist at the time, but kids who grew up watching this movie turned into gunsmiths and were like, I want that gun, and then find out, no, I can't have that gun because it doesn't exist. Wait a minute, I'm a gunsmith. And then made it happen. Because, people do love things that go boom.
That was a thing in the 80s. They wanted big guns, so they would take guns that you would normally mount on something that no reasonable person would actually want to hold it and shoot. I think Rambo and he was famous for taking a gun that was supposed to be mounted on a helicopter and just shooting from the hip with it. And then in Commando, Arnold does that too.
Speaking of shooting from the, there's a lot of shooting from the hip in this movie, I noticed.
Well, so back in the day, right? I did my time, and I did my time in the Army, and in that time, I learned that for the most part, I could tell you that if I ever tried to even just tried to shoot from the hip, that I would get in huge amounts of trouble, right? So that doesn't happen with people who are military professionals. It's always sighted shooting. Even if you're full auto rock and roll, you're always doing sighted shooting. On the other hand, right, shooting from the hip looks cool. And also, the sheer amount of bullets that you're throwing towards the bad guys with a minigun and other fully automatic weapons, it's kind of like, in 40K, there's the orcs, Mordaka. You're just shooting as much as you can, and then some of it will hit. If you're shooting in the right general direction, some of it will hit the person you wanted to hit eventually. So I think that was more of the philosophy of what was happening. in these firefights.
It took
that are in-
Hollywood
Which
a
is-
while to figure out shoot from the sights. Because I think in 80s movies, they just generally don't do it.
But no,
And accuracy by volume is exactly what you want from a crack team specializing in rescue missions.
yes, of course. That is exactly what a crack team specializing in rescue missions would do, is blow the entire area to smithereens, and hopefully we'll rescue our hostages afterwards. Though,
Well, you see, it says in the script that we saved the hostages. So that means we can blow up anything we want.
no, but
But you want to show that these guys are tough, because
Well,
if you show that
yes.
they're tough and that they have amazing firepower and they could just decimate this base with a short amount of time, if you can show that they're very capable, it makes the Predator all the more scary.
I mean,
So-
it did help when you when they had that truck very conveniently placed.
Yes, the truck generator, water pump.
I think it was a water pump. They were using the truck to power a water pump, and then it was they just left it running,
Yes,
and then
yes, I was going to say it was important enough for them to use a whole truck to do it, but not important enough that Arnold had time to cut the belt and then deadlift it and move it a little bit, and no one noticed that he did that. So
that is after activating and tossing in a satchel charge, just to spice the cake, right?
yes, a satchel charge, which by the way blew up with pinpoint timing.
Oh yes, definitely, because that's what satchel charges are known for: pinpoint timing of
He knew
toss it in there, and then you have a specific, you have a randomized set of time to deadlift a truck.
It's Arnold. He knows what he's doing.
Yeah,
Dutch
I guess
has
he
done
does.
this kind of thing. He did that sort of thing in Afghanistan, he said. There was a line, like, this reminds me of Afghanistan. And he's like, oh, I'm trying to forget that.
Oh, everybody tries to forget Afghanistan, Jeff. Everybody does.
Doesn't matter the time period. Everyone tries to forget Afghanistan.
Yes. It's anyways.
Can I say another thing that BJ might shoot down? I want
Please.
another turn at bat. Okay.
Okay.
So
The opening 10-minute monologue was enough. He wants more. Here we go.
So there's another, going back to the Predator being a Predator and meeting these guys at somewhat of a even level, in that, if he's going to use melee weapons, if he's going to match them with melee weapons or with ranged weapons or just with hand-to-hand combat, he matches them. Well, one of the things that you get from that is it changes almost, and this is where you guys are going to probably shut me down, but it almost changes like the evolutionary development of their society. Because here's the thing, technology, right? It's convenient. It does things for you. You don't have to, you could get a robot to go and harvest the food. You don't have to do big manual labor, scary things anymore with technology. So there's a tendency that it makes a species soft. They don't have to do these hard things anymore. So over the period of thousands of years of this, they get rid of their strong prowess-like stuff. They go from big, burly cave dwellers who could fight an animal with a spear to somebody who just sits in a cubicle, and they're fine with that. So what I'm trying to say is that by the Predator species somehow obsessing over this hunting and this danger and this code of hunting, in a sense, they are forcing their species to keep those most basic things that were very successful when they were primitive. Yet with technology, they're not needed anymore. It's almost like they're holding on to things that they don't need anymore. And they're doing it for some sort of special reason. They want to keep that part of their species strong. They want to be strong, great hunters. They want to keep all that stuff. And having these kind of rituals could be a way that their species does that. Because if you go and hunt species and the creature kills you, then you're out of the gene pool. If you can somehow survive, then the strongest get bigger, stronger, meaner, have, better at growling, whatever it is. And it goes on and on. So go ahead. Shoot that one down.
Or they're big game hunters and they do it because they think it's fun.
Yeah, I'm tending to agree with BJ.
What is the nature of fun? Why do people do things that's fun? It's to change who they are, to learn something and to get better at something. That's what fun really is. Fun is training from a primitive, natural sort of way.
Okay, Jeff, how
now I've disturbed
how
the
does playing
beast.
Company of Heroes free you from being a primitive or whatever you were just saying, Jeff? What?
Okay.
I'm just saying.
I honestly, you guys joked about it, but after hearing Jeff's long tirade about that, I'm much more inclined to believe the YouTuber argument or the YouTuber theory that these guys are actually YouTubers. I'm much
And they're
more
just
inclined
doing
to
this
believe
to get
that.
extra views.
Yeah,
and more
I'm
subscribers.
much more
Yeah.
inclined to believe that than the idea of them, trying to adjust their gene pool using hunting. It makes much more sense that these guys would just be doing it for the equivalent of clout, of societal clout, as opposed to, and not even societal clout, but just clout amongst their hyper elite friends, back on Yautja planet, right? So
They want to show off their collection.
Yeah.
And in Predator 2, they open the wall up and they have all these skulls, and it's the trophy collection for one of the Predators.
Including the one skull that started it all.
Actually not. Because
No?
I actually did some research on this night. Yeah, so I know like the urban myth is that the alien skull that's kind of shown in the background in Predator 2 is sort of thing that kicked it all off. But actually, the first Aliens vs. Predator comic came out in November 1989, and Predator 2 came out in November 1990. So Aliens vs. Predator was a thing before Predator 2.
Ah.
So myth busted there, because I thought the same thing until I did that research.
Okay. I will concede, BJ. You have given me evidence.
Like I said, I thought the same thing until I read that like an hour ago, so.
Now, I will grant you, BJ, that probably a comic book was done prior to that. But what about the main... Well, okay, no, you're right. I was going to say, but did it actually start there, or did, what about mainstream? But then again, the comic book probably... I don't know. Do you think the guys who made the movie read that comic book and then they decided to put it in there as a joke and a nod to that comic book? Or was it that they hadn't read it, but they were just big fans of those other movies and decided to,
Okay,
go
just
away?
so people are clear, we're talking about a skull that was at the end of Predator 2 when they opened the trophy. There's one that looks like the alien from the Alien movie, but I have a couple of questions about that, because isn't it true that the aliens don't have bones in their body? Their bones, equivalent of bones, are actually metal of some sort. So it wouldn't be white. It wouldn't look like bone material. It would be...
Don't recall them ever saying that the aliens' bones were made out of metal.
That's what I understood, is that the aliens, because when it opens its mouth and you see its teeth, the teeth are actually metallic. So it has acid for blood.
It looks metallic. like I said, to my understanding, never. Oh yes, the like
Okay.
like
But
some sort of I don't know.
yeah, and even if it is an alien, there could be many kinds of aliens. It could be there are different kinds, and the aliens in question from the movie Alien are actually genetically engineered and altered. They're changed to be even scarier somehow, but they could be a more primitive animal made out of bone. There's a whole lot of theory. Yes, I am full of theories today. Theory. Anyway, you can continue. I've derailed your conversation. Go ahead. You were talking about the skull,
Yeah. So
the alien skull.
anyway, to my understanding, I have not done research on this, so I could be entirely wrong. I will go back and fact check myself later. To my understanding, the alien skull at End of Predator 2 was an homage. So like I said, they came out within like a year each other, so I don't know when like Predator 2 was filmed as compared to when like when all the post-production work and all that was done. So I don't know, I guess, is the obvious answer.
On the other hand, it is a blink and you miss it prop, so I would not be surprised if one of the guys came into the director waving this comic book and said, "Dude, you need to read this," and the director would be like, "That's freaking awesome. Do we have that prop?" You know, and then obviously they could throw something together in like 5 minutes or maybe longer, depending on how long a prop there, how much detail they wanted to put into it. But I'm sure it wouldn't be excessively hard for a movie studio to develop a prop like that, especially one that you only had to see one side of for 5 seconds in a smoky room or in a smoky, dimly lit room.
Oh, and like now that I want to double check this before I say anything. So it does look like Alien and Predator were both made by Fox. So there's
Well,
the
yeah,
possibility.
no.
When was Alien made? Was that like 79?
Yeah, 79.
Okay, so Alien happened way before Predator did. Okay, just trying to line up the timeline into my head. When did Aliens come out?
That is because that was one of those that that's the one that made that got, I think,
Aliens was 86.
Didn't it have much more success? Like, brought it much more into the mind of everybody as opposed to the first Alien movie?
I want to say the first Alien movie was really popular, but I think what I like about Aliens is it's a good example of how you open up a world in a sequel, because a lot of storylines are kind of closed down. You want to open it up, and yes, there can be more aliens. Oh, look, they can even have a hive structure of a queen and drones, and it adds more to the universe, and it shows you more things like, oh, here's a group of humans that are off on this planet, and it shows you more places and things, and there's options for storylines.
So from what I'm seeing, it actually looks like Alien had a slightly bigger box office than Aliens, but I suppose that's one of the great debates is whether or not you like Alien or Aliens more, even though they are pretty different movies.
Yeah, and no one talks about the third one, so
Except Jeff.
Yeah, I do like the third one, but
yeah,
the third
Jeff,
one, I like it because it's
minority.
weird. I do not like it because it's fun. I like it because it's weird. It's weird.
You're one of the 5 people that likes it, Jeff. Congratulations.
If Jeff likes weird movies, then Alien Resurrection is probably his favorite in the series.
That one was really twisted and weird. I didn't really like Resurrection as much.
No one liked Resurrection.
Yeah, that one was just too much of a video game. I like video games that are made from movies, not movies that are made to be like a video game.
Jeff over here, it's too much like a video game. It's like, Jeff, I know what you do in your free time. I'm your friend on Steam.
You don't You don't know when it's me or when it's my kids playing as me.
I was friends
it
with you
all
before you
mixes
had
together.
kids. We
That's
sat
true.
in your basement in the highest. We spent an entire year playing Red Alert in your basement with 2 PlayStations hooked together. Don't give me this.
Yeah, those are the glory days. So
All right.
I have one last thing to say, and I will probably anger both of you. But
Okay.
all right, it is, but I will preference it. It is okay for us to disagree with each other because that is what discussions are all about. Obviously,
Yes.
yes.
I've just spent the last
purpose of
hour
movies-
disagreeing with you. I'm glad to know it's okay.
Okay, you're not on the naughty list, BJ. Not that you would even care. Anyway, the point of, I didn't get to bring this up before. You guys don't like the theory that I brought up about them being mean to somehow alter their genes and stuff, because that's too weird. But I do think that the fact that they're engaging, like, play is not just about the physical things, it's also about reordering their mind. So the things we do to play, they can do, they're not just about like dexterity exercises, they're also mental exercises, procedural exercises. We love to play complicated games. What do we get out of that? We get practice with procedures, practice with rules, practice with complexity, practice with unexpected results. We get practice with things that regular life doesn't give us, and that practice can actually be beneficial in natural life. But how it becomes beneficial is something that isn't known. You just kind of have to discover it, kind of a thing. So, the predator is playing hunter. He doesn't need to do this. He's got technology. He could sit on a farm, get fat, enjoy a good life, and play video games all day. He has all sorts of technology, but he chooses to do this hard, terrible thing because it, in fact, will change the way his brain works. Play influences many things about our mental abilities. So that's kind of my point, is if they focus on that, not only will it change their gene pool through natural selection, but it will, in fact, change how they think and how well they think based on doing this instead of sitting in a cubicle. Getting out into the sunshine, running through the jungle, chasing down people that are tough to chase down. Anyway, that's all I was going to say.
I have this dream that one day we're all going to find a way to record in the same location because I want Jeff to see the look on my face.
I think I'm going to need a bodyguard if we do
as
that.
he
I'm going to need
launches into
somebody.
these tirades.
I need our insurance company is going to be like, if you're going to have BJ physically there, you need to have a bodyguard there. Just to protect the rest of you. Not to protect him. The rest of you.
No, I'm not going to hurt you. I'm just going to give you the same looks I give you like in person as compared to just seeing your voice bar bounce up and down in OBS as I record. Just this flat stare of, I can't believe he's still talking about this.
There's no emoji symbol that is good enough that will describe your facial expressions enough.
Yeah. Yet again, Jeff, you've driven me further into the camp of these guys are YouTubers or the equivalent thereof, just seeking clout. Yautja clout. They're taking skulls back to brag to their friends. Not any sort of societal change. Just, hey guys, look at what I did. Taking it back to the club.
To the lodge in Predator London. I say, George, that's quite the skull you brought back.
Yes, he gave me quite the time. Vex me, he did. He learned the mud trick.
Smashing the mud trick.
All of them become British once they get to their home planet, right?
Well,
understanding.
I mean, that makes about as much sense as, yes, they go hunting to gene pools and brain activity.
They all have monocles, and they sit around
drinking
tea. Here. Jolly good show, old man. You've brought back 10 skulls, and mighty shiny indeed.
Oh dear, this one seems to have a plasma caster's hole in the middle of it.
Oh, that's
Got a
10
little
points
trigger
off.
happy, did you?
I will say, watching a movie that kind of made me laugh because like when they kill Mac with the plasma caster shot to the head, they do this big scene where like splashes blood on the camera, but then when is it Dylan who sees his body later, his head is more or less intact.
Yeah.
It's like,
Considering what it did to Jesse Ventura's body, I would have thought his head would have resembled something a lot more akin to a mixture of strawberry jam and hamburger meat.
I mean, then again,
But-
I'm not complaining too much about that. I've
Well, it
noticed as I've gotten older, I am less of a gore hound. Like, I was never like a big gore hound, like hyperbalance was never my thing, but like I've gotten to appreciate gore less the older I've got, I've noticed.
No, I kind of like that too. It's not, yeah.
Like,
The primitive child that I was like, wow, that is so cool. But yeah.
like going back to like John Carpenter's The Thing, for example, I am very impressed by the practical effects, but I never need to see that movie again.
Can I just say something?
It depends. Is it going to be
thought-
about changing brain chemistry?
No, it's about
or
what you guys
gene
are talking about.
pools?
I want to say the gun.
Is this actually going to be the one last thing?
No,
I thought he already
something-
had his one last thing.
Yeah,
How
I've
many
already
one
had
last
my
things
one
do you
last
have,
thing.
Jeff?
This is me being the technical me. Technically, you said that the one he killed, the weapon he used to off Max, is different. It's the one he had on his arm, whereas the other one was his shoulder weapon. So it is a different weapon. That might be the reason why that they're different.
Okay.
Do you
Yeah.
guys reject that one?
I
No.
don't remember him using the one on his arm.
I don't
I didn't even remember
recall there being
one
an
on the
energy
arm.
weapon on the arm. I thought the thing on his arm was a claw.
Yeah.
He had one weapon on his arm and one
Which
weapon
was a claw.
on his shoulder.
Yeah.
You're kind of outnumbered here, Jeff.
Again.
Okay.
Again.
On the other hand,
Neither me or Gary recall a wrist-mounted energy weapon. The only energy weapon I recall is the one on his shoulder.
on the other hand, the person who guards the time, as the person who guards the time, in the interest of that, I will allow Jeff this one if it means that this is the actual last item that he is going
Okay.
to talk about.
Fine. Yes. It is the last item.
Unfortunately, Jeff made the Discord server, so I can't boot him from the conversation.
Funny how that works out.
Anyways, so yeah, Jeff, you really, really, really like it. I kind of like it, and BJ only vaguely likes it. So that's kind of where we're
okay.
gonna stand.
I mean,
You think-
like I said, I know my opinion is the unpopular one here. I think the majority of people who watch Predator in 2025 are people who are going to more or less agree with Jeff and call it one of the all-time great sci-fi action things, but
Mhm.
I disagree.
And you're allowed to.
Yes. As per Jeff, I'm allowed to disagree with him.
Yes, it's a
Within the
perfectly
safe-
valid thing to do.
Within the safe confines of our podcast, we
2.5
allow the
years
freedom
after the
of
podcast
dissent.
has 2.5 years after the podcast has started, I have gotten permission to disagree with Jeff.
Yeah, all those other ones are violations. Now you
Every
have
other
to-
episode up until now has been illegal. I'm lucky I have not been arrested. If I was about to say a political joke, but I guess I'm not going to go there.
Yeah, please do not. But yeah, yes, that's
Yes, as the sounds of Gary saying, I want to stop now.
yes. It is.
Okay. So how do we stop? How does that work?
Well, normally I say final thoughts, but I believe Jeff has used up the final thought quota already for all three of
Twice.
us.
Twice, even.
I used up my quota and all of your quotas. The whole group's quota.
And I already kind of said my final thoughts.
Me and Gary are never allowed final thoughts again. I'm BJ. And this is how we end podcasts, I guess. I'm BJ. With me is Jeff and Gary. See you next time as we talk about something, I'm sure.
Anytime. That's what he says.